Act 3 of Hollow Knight Silksong transforms the world of Farloom, meaning that there is a lot to do and it can be difficult to know where to start. However, there are several upgrades that are all fairly easy to get, and that will make your remaining exploration and progression through Act 3 significantly more enjoyable. All of that will be covered in this guide, and as usual, useful timestamps can be found in the video description. The first upgrade that we are likely to obtain in Act 3 is the Beastling call. To unlock it, we just need to go to the Grand Bellway and attempt to call the Bell Beast. Doing so will cause a hole to open in the ground, which we can enter to face off with the Bell Eater. I found the key to this fight is attacking the vulnerable parts of the Bell Eater from the side. The Needle Strike or charged attack with the Wanderer Crest seemed to work pretty well for this. Once the Bell Eater is defeated, we can speak with the Bell Beast and then follow the on-screen prompt to learn the Beastling call. This needle and song will allow us to call the Bell Beastlings while standing on any solid ground, which will then transport us to the nearest Bellway station. It makes exploration in Act 3 much easier. Our next upgrade is the Plasmium Gland, and it's only really important if we are trying to use the Architect Plasmium build, which I covered in my OP Act 3 guide video. For that, we should return to Zylotol in the Wormways. If this is your first time visiting Zylotol, you will need to use a simple key to enter this section of the Wormways and start out by completing the Alchemist's Assistant quest to get the Plasmium Vial tool. After that, we can start the Advanced Alchemy quest, and we will then need to equip the Needle Vial tool and use it on 10 plasmified creatures within the Wormways. There's a plasmid that spawns a short distance down and east from the bench near Zylotol. I found it easiest to just extract the plasmified blood from that plasmid, then return to the bench to rest, and repeat that process until all plasmified blood is collected. Once the quest is complete, we can return to Zylotol and speak with him to get his Plasmium Gland, which makes it so our reserve of Plasmium is endless. It only requires shell shards to use, which allows us to max out on Plasmium with the Architect Crest a lot more easily. This regenerative build is fantastic for some of the more difficult platforming and gauntlet-style challenges that can be found within Act 3. It's not the best build for every situation, but when it is called for, it works wonders. The next two upgrades we will focus on getting are Farsight and the Silksong Traversal ability. Both of these are unlocked through the main Act 3 questline, so let's cover the relevant steps. First, we will need to go to Bone Bottom and make our way to the lair of the Shamans in Moss Grotto. It's located just west of where we fought our first boss of the game, the Moss Mother. Speaking a few times with the Shamans will update our main objective. Before we go to that marker though, we should make a stop at the Forge Daughter Merchant. Specifically, we need to speak with her assistant, Ballo, until he moves deeper into Deep Docks. Now, the pressurized door down to the west of the Forge Daughter might just be opened in Act 3. If it's not, you will need to use a simple key on the door that is down into the east of the Forge Daughter, then work your way east, down, and then west to unlock it from the other side. That is what I did, but I did it back in Act 2. In any case, we will then need to move down and east, then through a platforming section lined with scalding surfaces and lava larga. At the end of it, we will find a locked diving bell, and Ballo should be found above it in the operating room. We can speak with him to get the diving bell key, and we'll then need to enter the bell, speak with Ballo again over the intercom, and strap into the seat to be transported down into the abyss. There is no map upon our initial arrival, so I'll be showing a quick walkthrough of this area in case anyone needs it. If you want to take a short detour to the east after entering the tall vertical chamber, you can go through a short platforming section to reach an arcane egg relic. Our ultimate goal though is to head straight down. Once at the bottom, we can head east and over an abyssal lake to reach a bench. Just above it is the map station for this region. We'll then move further east, and after a short cutscene, can platform our way up and east to the entrance of Weave Nest Absalom. There are two upgrades we'll want to get while we are here, and one of them is missable. That one is found in the upper east corner across the first gap. It's the Farsight, and we will need to install it in our Bell home once we get out of here. For the next upgrade, we'll need to make our way down and through a winding path to the bottom of Absalom. There, we can bind the only Act 3 Traversal ability, Silksong. It allows us to go up any vertical distance so long as there is a ceiling for our needle to anchor into. This traversal will allow us to access most of the important areas and secrets in Act 3. It's also our ticket to escape out of the abyss and return to the surface, given the broken state of the diving bell. Once we've gotten out of the abyss, we can use our Beastling call and then travel by Bellway to Bellheart. There, we can enter our Bell home and install the Farsight. Doing so will allow us to see our overall game completion in the main menu when we go to load our save file. It will also show it in the inventory tab of the in-game menu. There are some other useful features for completionists like the number of encountered and completed Hunter's Journal entries, but the completion percentage is the one that we need to worry about for completion-related achievements. Returning to the Shamans in Moss Grotto, they will teach us the Elegy of the Deep, Needle and Song, which is used to enter dreams or memories, which are important encounters for progressing the main Act 3 questline. While we're here, we can use Silksong to the east of the Shamans, then break our way through multiple walls of debris to reach the final crest of the game, that of the Shaman. If you still do not have all EVA upgrades at this point, the last one being Sylphsong, then use memory lockets on non-hunter crests until you are able to get it. Having the Shaman crest will make reaching that requirement easier, and you can check out my guide on all EVA upgrades if you want a more thorough explanation on how that entire system works. Finally, let's talk about how to get the fourth and final needle upgrade. If you haven't already gotten 3 needle upgrades in Acts 1 and 2, you can watch my guide video on how to do that, linked below. For the last pale oil, we will need to start up the circus or festival at Fleetopia. If you have already rescued all 30 fleas before Act 3, then the quest or wish for the flea circus should already be available at the Bellheart wishboard. On the other hand, if you're like me and still have a few fleas left to rescue, then I highly recommend finding Vogue in Putrefied Ducks if you haven't already, as that specific flea will sell markers for the remaining unsaved fleas, making it much easier to find them. Once all 30 fleas have been saved, we'll need to journey to Fleetopia and speak with Mushka. We can then use our Beastling call to make a quick egress and travel to Bellheart. The Ecstasy for the end quest should now be available on the wishboard, and we'll need to accept it before returning to Fleetopia. Once we get back to Fleetopia, we'll then need to get the high score on a series of 3 minigames. The first one is the Flea Juggle, and my advice for this is to use the Wanderer Crest, and just stay on the ground for the most part, using dashes to quickly go between the fleas as they approach the ground. Successfully juggling 31 fleas will get us the high score on this game. Also, there is a memento associated with these games, and they require even higher scores than what is required for this quest, so just go for as long as you can on all of them even after the number count turns gold. The second game is the Flea Dodge. Personally, I found this one to be the most random and difficult, and will need to stay above the platforms for at least 65 seconds if I recall correctly, or whenever the number turns gold. The only advice I have for this game is to try and conserve your double jump for emergencies, and when the big flea shows up, jump to avoid it as late as possible so that you can see where the replacement platforms rise up before you fall out of frame. The third and last game is the Flea Bounce, and it's pretty straightforward. Just pogo on the fleas and stay in the air for as long as possible. The goal is at least 43 pogos, but more is absolutely fine. You'll want to watch this next part before doing it yourself. Once a high score has been obtained on all 3 games, we can speak with Mushka to finish the quest. We'll then need to smack the piñata until it bursts, dropping a pale oil. Make sure to pick up all of the rosaries, even run off screen for the ones that flew extra far out, before picking up the pale oil, as picking that up will cause any unclaimed rosaries to disappear. There should be around 340 rosaries and 1 pale oil. We may have the pale oil at this point, but Pinmaster Plinney is also missing from Bellheart. He's found in an isolated section of Western Shellwood. After defeating a few waves of abyssal enemies, we can speak with him to get him back to his home in Bellheart. We then just need to exchange the pale oil along with a fair sum of rosaries to get our final needle upgrade, which will upgrade it to the pale steel needle. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me in the comments where I will do my best to help. If you want to see more great guides, you can head over to my channel, and if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat. Her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day. If you're here today, have a great Sunday and a great weekend. And as always, thanks for watching.